Like small businesses everywhere over the past 3 months, those in Arlington, Manchester, and Dorset took it on the chin as the COVID-19 pandemic forced them to close their doors or adjust by selling on their curbsides, assuming that was an option that was even available. Help is on the way in the form of the federal CARES Act money, but only now is that getting out the door of the government agencies and into the depleted bank accounts of many of those small, often family-owned businesses. Now the Vermont Community Foundation, an organization based in Middlebury, Vermont, has stepped forward with some additional assistance. The foundation, first established in 1986, is a family of hundreds of funds and foundations created by Vermonters to serve their charitable goals. The foundation provides the advice, investment vehicles, and back-office expertise to make gift-giving easier for those donors, and their funds and programs provide more than $18 million a year in grants in Vermont and beyond. One locally based philanthropic donor has stepped forward with an offer of $1 million in support of local businesses to help them ride out the economic fallout of the pandemic, divided among the 3 towns, which include East Arlington and East Dorset. Applications for help to offset lost sales or additional expenses that may have been incurred must be applied for, and the deadline is approaching soon. Elizabeth Marks, a senior philanthropic advisor at the Vermont Community Foundation, described the initiative and how businesses could take advantage of it.
About a month ago, we were approached by a donor here in the Manchester area who was very concerned about the struggling businesses and the economic impact of the pandemic, and asked us if it would be possible to put together a business relief fund. And we had a wonderful opportunity to work with that donor, who then reached out to others to bring the ultimate size of the fund up to $1 million. And what we did is we looked at what's the opportunity to help businesses, under IRS guidelines. Obviously, businesses normally don't get grants from private sector. And what were able to put together was, in the case of a disaster, it is possible to make charitable gifts to businesses in order to mitigate the impact of the economic losses due to a disaster, in this case, the pandemic and the resulting shutdowns. So the fund is $1 million that will be issued in grants. We expect about 100 to 150. Those grants we estimate will be around 4,000 to 25,000. The size of the grants will be a combination of how many people apply and are eligible, and also the size of their need. And we're looking forward to making those grants in July. And we've been making grants in response to the coronavirus pandemic for the last, since the middle of March. But in this case, when a donor approaches us, it's really driven by those donors' interests. So in this case, this consortium of donors are particularly interested in this Dorset, East Dorset, Arlington, East Arlington, Manchester, and Manchester Center. So those 6 communities.
We also had a chance to meet up on a Zoom interview with John O'Keefe, the town manager of Manchester, Rob Giotti, the town manager of Dorset, and Nick Syack, the town administrator of Arlington, to get their reactions.
I mean, I think the first thing to note is just the generosity of the donors, the lead donors in the communities, and just how kind of fortunate we are to first off live in these communities, and additionally have people that care that much about the communities that they will toe the line this much and try to bring these types of resources to businesses that are just vitally important, and certainly hopefully going to find use of the resources. So I think that's really the first kind of thing to be noted, is that we're just you'd mentioned that there's only a couple of these available. It's because I think we're fortunate to live in an area where citizens, care that much about their community.
They were actually surprised to hear about it. So I think this piece that you're doing right now will probably do a lot to bring some attention to it. I just want to reiterate what Rob said about the generosity of the folks that have been involved in this, and the fact that they want to be anonymous and not get any credit for it really is pretty extraordinary. I think if you look at Manchester and the surrounding area, a lot of the different things that we have in this area whether it's Arlington, Manchester, or Dorset, come from this sort of level of philanthropy. You got in Manchester, Southern Vermont Arts Center, Hildene, the Rec Park, the library, North Shire Day School. A lot of those different organizations were built on the generosity of people that live in this area. So it's, while donations and charitable donations nationwide might be decreasing, it seems like in this area, it still continues to be strong. Each of the communities that's involved in this has different needs. One of the challenges is that the Vermont Community Foundation, and I believe Bennington Bank will be involved as well, is sorting out what the goal of this is to protect businesses that if they didn't survive, the character of the community would be a lot different. So, we use the example in East Dorset of the East Dorset General Store. If it wasn't for that, folks from that area would have to drive, well, I guess either up to Danby or down into Manchester to get a gallon of milk. I think the program will look different in each town, but the goal is the same, which is to maintain those small family, locally owned businesses that really contribute a lot to the community. I think,
of all the sectors that matter in Arlington, our biggest sector has not suffered all that much. But our second biggest sector is the hospitality trade, the wedding trade, things like that, as well as summer vacationing. So with all of that shut down and Arlington's kind of reliance on and the prominence of these small, often marginal businesses that cater to these trades and serve these events, we certainly are hurting from that, and that is exactly where grants like this one from the Community Foundation will be really important in helping tide some of these businesses that could not have anyone over.
Time is running out, though, for businesses to submit their applications. So for those that haven't already done so and think they might qualify for help, a visit to the Vermont Community Foundation's website at www.vermontcf.org might be the next step. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.